Hey everyone, welcome to this week's conversation. I appreciate you tuning in. My guest tonight became a household name back in 2001 when she released back to back number one hits, There Is No Arizona and When I Think About Angels. And she's been putting out great music ever since. So please welcome to the conversation an award winning singer songwriter who's also one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, Jamie O'Neill. Jamie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Bill. It's great to be here today.
It is my pleasure, Jamie. I've been looking forward to this. I've got a lot I'm going to try to jam pack into our conversation here, but I thought maybe I'd kick things off by asking about something pretty special that just happened back on January 23rd. You released your sixth studio album, Gypsum, and it's awesome, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
No, you are welcome. So I have to ask, though, what inspired you to put the album out and how did it all come together?
Oh, well, first of all, it was time. I mean, my last album that had some original music on it was 2020, but that also had the re-recordings of my hits
Okay.
with some duets, Sarah Evans, Martina McBride, Lauren Elena, John Paul White, and my daughter. And then in 2022, I put out a Christmas album. And so it was time. I mean, it always feels like it takes a couple of years after the last one to,
Mm.
write songs and then also go through your catalog. And I've been saving a couple of these songs like Slippery Slope and Old Heartache for a really long time. And this was just the perfect album to put them on. I really wanted to make a country album. And these are some of my favorite songs, that I've ever written, and with some of my favorite people, collaborators that I've known since, gosh, 1998, probably. We go
Wow.
back to Shay Smith and Ed Hill, Roxy Dean, Robin Lee. Um, they're just, great friends, and we've had so much fun over the years um, creating some music that what I would call hits and misses. Because we like obviously we have um more songs in our catalog than our hit records, but at the same time it's
Sure.
like I'll go back and listen to that. Man, I love that song, or I love that demo, and it's just been great, and Gypsum, the title came from the sand dunes in New Mexico, the White Sands National Park, where we did the photo shoot because we had a song that I wrote with Shay Smith and Lisa Drew, who I wrote Arizona with, called Over New Mexico. And so I knew I wanted to do a photo shoot, and I kind of wanted to, have that vibe of those wide open spaces that are out west, and the gypsum sand dunes are what you crawl through when you're getting up to the top of the sand dunes. So, which was a funny sight, quite a spectacle in itself, me trying to get up those sand dunes and the wind. It's so windy up
Oh my
there.
gosh.
So, but yeah, it everything really came together, and I'm super proud of the album.
And Jamie, I appreciate you sharing that. And I will say that having listened to it multiple times, I love every song on the album. And one of the ones you just mentioned a couple minutes ago, Slippery Slope and John Deere Letter. What I love about those two, I love the tempo.
Mhm.
And they're kind of like the kind of song I put on my workout list because they can help get me going. That
Oh,
they got that
good,
kind of
good.
vibe. Yeah. But
Yeah.
but one song that really stood out to me for a lot of reasons was Just Whiskey. And like it is so powerful. So I wanted to ask, what's the story behind that song? It's amazing. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we also appreciate our first and longest running sponsor of the show, Tom and his team of insurance professionals at the Malin Agency. If world class customer service and doing business with someone you can trust is important to you, give Tom and his team a call today for all your insurance needs.
Yeah, that's a real kind of power ballad, I guess you would call it, because there really aren't any ballads on the album. They're all either mid tempos or up
Yeah.
tempos, which is cool. But I had a friend who, her husband, I think he might have been a fiance at the time, but they ended up getting married. She couldn't get him to stay home. He always wanted to go out drinking with his buddies, and they
Mm.
even had a small child, and just she was always fighting that, I guess, the beast of alcoholism, and the terror, I guess, the fear that comes
Mm.
along with that when someone you love is making these choices and also leaving you out of it because it is kind of an isolating thing.
Yeah.
And so it was very tough for her. And I wrote it with Stephanie Bentley and Rob Crosby. And I just love the way, I mean, there's two songs on my album that sing to to an entity, like you're singing to whiskey, you're singing to a ghost of heartache, and in old heartache. And so it's kind of cool,
Yeah.
there are a lot of visuals in both of those songs. Um, just whiskey is that, I'm not letting you get away with this. I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight for him as much as I can, as much as humanly possible. So, I'm flesh and blood. You're just whiskey.
Yes. Yeah. And that's,
Yeah.
I had to actually listen to it a couple times before I started piecing together the meaning, with the lyric. And then all of a sudden it hit me and the bulb went off, in terms
Mm.
of what the lyrics are all about. And I think that's one of the reasons why it stood out to me. And it's also one of the reasons why back in the early 90s I got into country music. It was the lyrics, it was the stories, it was the voices. And
Oh, me
that's,
too. Me
yeah,
too.
well, and I'm going to come back to something along those lines in terms of someone else's voice, but there's another aspect of the album that really stuck out to me, and that's your voice and the range, and Just
Thank you.
Whiskey, even that there's incredible range in there. So, how have you
That
been
is
able to
one of the
keep,
hardest songs to sing on the album. Trust me. It's really hard.
as someone who dabbled in singing years ago until my throat and issues kept me from doing it,
Oh,
I
I'm sorry.
definitely can understand that and can appreciate that. But I'm just curious as to how you've kept your voice in such incredible shape because it's as phenomenal now as it was back in 2001 that I referenced earlier.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. It's definitely as you get older, you deal with more challenges in so
Yeah.
many different ways. Health being one of them, and just things not looking or being the same way they used to be in your youth, so to speak. And I've always been the kind of person that's just like, I can go out there and sing for hours and days. And
Mm.
I remember my producer, Keith Stegall, saying to me, a lot of these songs are very rangy and they're very high, and you're belting and you're doing all that. And he said, I feel like as you get older and as you're playing, 90-minute shows a lot of the time, back to back, you're going to want to write some easier songs. And I thought,
Mm.
nah, but he was so right. He was so right because I pace myself when I'm doing live shows. I know what I should open with. I'm not going to open with the harder songs. I'm going to get there about the midway point to the show, and I'm going to sing an easy song. I'm going to extend solos. I'm going to lower some keys. I've lowered some keys, and then I'll have my husband sing a song or one of the other band members. Um, and so I know pretty much what I'm capable of, and I'm not going to hurt myself. I'll change the melody if I have to,
Wow.
once in a while. But I guess I just know what I'm capable of and what I should stay away from and when I'm going to hurt myself. And, we all have times though when it's like, okay, I need to not talk. I
Yeah.
need to drink more water because
Mhm.
dehydration is a big thing. And vitamins, like, I know this sounds crazy and, a little hippie-ish, but glutathione is a big thing that it
Mm.
gets into the folds of your vocal cords, and if your voice is stripped of glutathione, it affects it in a raspy way. And so I'll go and get a shot of glutathione or an IV. I just think there's things that we can do, and I kind of baby my voice a little bit just because it is my, career and it's my
Yeah.
livelihood and everything. So
No, and I appreciate. In fact, when I play this back, I'm going to write that down. What you just talked about, glutathione. Is that how you said it?
glutathione, like
Glutathione.
G
Okay.
L U T
Ah. Okay. Okay.
Athione.
Wow. You
Yeah.
learn
They
something
and
new
they
every day.
they use it at different places too when they're doing like vocal therapy, like physical therapy for the voice. They'll use
Okay.
glutathione as a supplement on the side. And you have to really get the higher dosage. So really that comes in an IV bag with like electrolytes and other vitamins. And
Okay.
but I do notice a difference when I keep that up.
No, that's great. Like I said, I know there was a time when, I'll actually tie this together back in the early 90s when I got into country music, the person who first kind of brought me in, and it was the lyrics, was Chris Ledoux. Like those stories were just phenomenal. And then I started hearing voices like Martina McBride and John Berry. And for the longest time, I thought they were the best two, the male. And every year, whenever there was vocalist of the year, I
Hmm.
thought there's no contest. If it's truly vocalist of the year, they should each win. And,
Yeah.
they just, the voice, the range, everything was incredible to me. But
Yeah.
I saw,
Martina is one of my favorite singers ever in the world. I mean, I would just hearing her voice soar,
oh,
and I remember being in Australia and buying all of her albums and everything and just like listening to them over and over again and then to not knowing that I would get to go on tour with her, and she cut
yeah.
a song of mine that I wrote called How Far. And she's become a friend where I can, text her when I'm having vocal problems, and she's like, I'm here for you, girl. I mean, just a
Wow.
really, really sweet, caring friend. And it means a lot to have other artists that you've looked up to like that care and like, be invested in how things are going and all that. So I really appreciate her. She's a sweetheart. And I love John Barry. I mean, I've done a couple of cruises with him and he's so fun, and his wife, they're just really, really sweet people. And he's,
Oh
he's
yeah.
great. He's so good.
Yeah, I can't help but think that Robin's probably the life of the party because I've had John on
Yeah,
several times and Robin as well, and they're great people. And he's another one that just really still gets up there with the range, can really
he
get up.
does. I know. So many guys like Andy Griggs, who's one of my close, close friends, Ty Herndon, and they sing so fantastically.
Yeah.
Daryl Worley, it's like they sound better than ever, and I
Yeah.
feel like it's just incredible. And I think it also comes down to they've never stopped singing. You have to keep
Mm.
singing. You know how they say if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big thing with most of the people I work with and see out is like they're always singing, they're always keeping up their instrument. T. Graham Brown sounds amazing. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
it's just, there's a lot of fantastic,
And
amazing vocalists out there in our genre and
yeah,
beyond.
yeah, and the thing with T. Graham Brown, because he's another friend of the show, and he was actually in the movie that Rosie shot that I was talking about earlier in West
Oh
Virginia a couple of
wow.
weeks ago. So hopefully there'll be some updates on that. So
That's so
and
cool.
he's got that sort of raspy, gravelly sound. So I can't help but think that
Yeah.
that's even harder to maintain over the years. To have that same level of grit that he has in his voice. But
Mhm.
I also wanted to mention one of my favorite videos, and I don't know how many people I've shared the link with, but it's from a few years back with you and Martina doing When I Think About Angels in the studio
Oh
together.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is like I literally I can close my eyes and just listen to that a dozen times. It's phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was very kind of her to do it.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. And I also you mentioned about you know some tips and different things. I had heard a story. There was a point where you were going through some issues and she was kind of there for you, in
Hmm.
terms of your voice and things like that. So that's great to hear that sort of camaraderie that you don't find that everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. She definitely is.
Yeah.
I think
Now,
a lot of women, in country music though, we all link arms. We're all friendly and friends, and like Terry Clark and Lori Morgan and Pam Tillis, um, Susie Bogus. I mean, everybody's friend. Everybody's hangs out and are friends and goes on tour together, and we see each other. Not all the time, but like either on tour. Dina Carter's
yeah.
another one. They're so sweet, and and everyone's supportive. We just love being out there and doing what we love to do. So anytime we can catch up, it's always a lot of fun.
That's great, and that's something that I've heard from so many of the guests I've been blessed to have on the show. It seems like there are a lot of great relationship, not competitions, more
Yeah,
camaraderie. Kind of
yeah.
like what you just described with all those incredible artists. And as you're naming them, it's bringing me back to the '90s and early 2000s, and just my playlists and piles of CDs, and had them all. And
Oh, yeah, me too.
I'm thinking, now that this is your sixth album that we just talked about, Gypsum. How did the experience of working on your sixth album compare to your first?
Well, you never forget your first. I mean, when I got to go in and record my first album, I, was new to Nashville in a way. I not really new to Nashville because I lived here when I was a kid. So I've not lived anywhere else longer than I've lived in Nashville, and it feels like home. But I moved back in 96 from Australia, and then I got my record deal at the end of 1999, and I met Keith Siegel, and I performed for him, and
Oh,
that's what
wow.
got me my record deal. And I think just the excitement of going into the studio and knowing that I was getting to work with a producer like him at that level, and then that music was going to come out, and people were asking me, what here's books of photographers, here's books of video directors, here's stylists, here's it was just all so exciting. It was just like everything I'd ever wanted was, it was like Christmas, like Christmas Day, and your everything on your list is there and better than you could dream. And so I think that first experience, there's nothing like it. All those firsts, hearing your
Wow.
song on the radio, getting your first number one,
Yeah.
all of those firsts are so thrilling and exciting. And so I see like Ella Langley and or Lainey Wilson. She's been out for a few years, and I'm so excited for them because I know exactly how that feels to be
Mm,
celebrating those big wins and to be having all those dreams just coming true and thinking, man, this just couldn't get any better, And there's a little bit of that imposter syndrome that happens where
mm,
there's also the stress of, am I really worthy of all this? And I think you have to just keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep going, and also create more goals for yourself. Because one of the things I feel like I didn't do when people say, "What would you tell your younger self?"
mm.
if you could go back or whatever, if you could tell, and of course that's one of those that's never going to happen. But my goals that I wrote down before I got to Nashville that all came true. I don't feel like I kept writing goals for myself because by the time those started coming true, I was so busy working and
Yeah.
just like keeping everything together, all the balls in the air, and just like, just making sure everything was happening and out there touring. I didn't set those next goals. And I think that someone like Reba, and I'll bet probably Lainey Wilson, that's what they do is, well, now I want to do this. Now I want to do this. I can do this. I know I could go and do this. I'd be good at this. And I want this to happen. And I don't feel like I did that as much as I should have.
Mm.
But the biggest dream that happened that I didn't even know was a dream for me is having a child, because
Wow.
that was just like this amazing thing. And I thought, man, a lot of my gears shifted at that time. And I'm just like, I want to be a good mom, the best mom I can be, more than I want to be anything else,
Wow.
you know?
Yeah, and
I think,
Jane, that's amazing. And I remember as you're saying that, I remember seeing a clip from a few years back. I don't remember exactly when it was, from one of my recent guests, and you mentioned him earlier, Daryl Worley, and he took some time to be a dad and kind of
yeah,
step back for a while. And like, I just have so much respect for that. And it's one of the things I've noticed being a fan of country music now for over, 30, almost 40 years, is that it's obviously changed so much where, now it's tougher to get, there's so many incredible artists that are putting out their own albums because it's tough to get the record deal. It's so fickle,
yeah.
is kind of the word that I use. So to be able to take a step back and focus on other things and still keep it going, I think is just such an incredible accomplishment. It really is. And to have the longevity and the quality, even if the goals may not have been set, I can't help but think they've been met.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Yeah, a lot of goals and dreams and blessings have come my way, and really, I just want to keep working. I just want to. That's why putting new music out is so important,
Yeah.
because when people say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're back," or something like that, I'm kind of like, "Wait, where did I go?" Like I don't I've never stopped working, so I feel like I didn't go anywhere. But if someone's just discovering me again, well, that's good. At least they are they're discovering my music some way, somehow. But if you've been along for the journey, yeah, I've taken too long in between albums, but life's gotten in the way. I've definitely not stopped playing music, and but playing music and having a family and being on the road and having multiple dogs.
Yeah.
I've been super busy, so
Absolutely. And it's a balancing act. And again, I give kudos to anyone who does it, and also who keeps it at that level. Like you were talking about, if someone's maybe discovering you for the first time now, the cool thing is if they were to go back and listen to your CDs or watch your videos and then go to see you live,
Hmm.
they're going to hear the same voice. It's going to sound the same because there are a lot of artists who, ooh, they're either lowering things or they didn't take care of themselves maybe, and sometimes it's almost unrecognizable. Not as much in country as some other
Hmm.
genres, but
Hmm.
I just think that's really cool that they'll be able to recognize and see that it's the same. It sounds the same, which is pretty cool too. So, and
Thank you. Thank you.
sure. And in talking about kind of looking back and some of those things that we just talked about along the way, if you were to take a look back from a slightly different angle, Jamie, what would you say you're most proud of?
Probably, I guess really sticking with it, and I'm not afraid to work, you know. I think that hard work trumps talent every time,
Yeah.
and if you've got to want it more than those people around you. And I've always wanted it. I've always wanted to make it. I've always wanted to play music for a living. I've always wanted, to write music. But everything that we do, writing music and being in a studio, is all for that moment that you get to perform on stage, in front of an audience and get that response back. So that's really my favorite thing. And, I think that I guess when you say, what are you most proud of? It would just be sticking with it, not giving up. Because there are times when you feel like, is this really going to happen? Is this what I'm meant to do? Who I'm meant to be kind of thing. And I just kind of stuck to my guns and kept on going.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And before I ask my next question, there's something you mentioned earlier that I'm fascinated. Like you talked about imposter syndrome. And I
Mm.
will tell you, some of the people that have mentioned that to me are the most talented, like insanely talented individuals that's still something that comes into their mind. And it just blows my mind because there's some people who maybe it applies, but then the ones who
I
you
think
kind
though,
of,
I think it's I think the imposter thing comes along with fame. I don't think that, I mean, we get given the gift of being able to create and having talent and having a voice and everything, which we really didn't do anything to get. We were given those gifts from God, and so
yeah.
I think the imposter thing is how fame makes you feel like you're like, wait a second,
Ah,
it's one thing to dream, like Cinderella,
yeah.
and you dream of all these things, but then it's another thing when it starts happening, you're just like, wait a second, is this really meant to be for me? Is it feels so big, but yeah, I don't think it's that someone's saying it's imposter syndrome coming back to the talent part of it. I think it's more the
Okay.
fame. And fame is such a weird and, like you said, fickle thing, and it's
Yeah.
fleeting as well. I mean, no one really is famous forever.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you get to be that big, like I can't even imagine how it feels to be like Taylor Swift or anything. It's like she'll never get to go back to being when she wasn't famous
Yeah.
and she was a kid. She's never going to get to go back to that because sometimes when you get to that level of fame, it is forever. But most of the time, fame is here and gone the next second. So.
Yeah, it really is. And like I said, that's all the more reason why anyone who's able to keep going and keep creating it at a high level, I think is one of the most admirable things you can do and definitely appreciate it. And not just by me, but by your fans as well, I know. So Jamie, I've got two last questions for you. One also kind of looks back and then one looking ahead,
Okay.
because I wouldn't want to leave our conversation without doing that as well. So I asked you about what you're most proud of, but if you were also to look back, what would you say are some of your favorite memories so far?
Getting to be on the Grammys, present on the Grammys, that was a huge thing for me. And to get to meet Bono and some people that I really looked up to for a long time. Getting nominated for Grammys
Yeah.
was super important, and a real gift. And even like my very first CMAs, I'll never forget. The Dixie Chicks were kind of at the height of their fame, and they were coming up
Yeah.
behind me on the red carpet, and everyone was just like, "Oh, it's the Dixie Chicks." It was so exciting. And me too. I'm just like I'm fangirling all over the place. And Natalie and Marty and Emily, they all came over, and They were like, "We love There Is No Arizona. We love that song. We just wanted to tell you how we just, oh, we can't get enough of it." And
Wow.
that means so much as a new artist when you get that recognition from people like that that you've looked up to. That was like a really exciting, thrilling thing for me. And winning, I won an ACM award, and that was huge, and
Yeah.
just being there with all the other artists who were nominated, and like one of my best friends, Carolyn Dawn Johnson, and she won the award the next year after me at the ACMs, and I got to present that to her. It's moments like that that are like right at the top of my bucket list, and like some of my most treasured memories for sure.
Yeah, and I also think what's really impressive is that if you look back at the time frame when you were getting those nominations and winning those awards, I mean, that was such a highly competitive, I mean, it was just like the peak, I think. There was a 10, 15-year time frame there where the talent was just off the chart. So I think even being nominated for anything was just such an incredible achievement because of the talent that was there.
Oh, I agree. I mean, we had and still do have so many amazing artists from that era, I guess. When I was out, it was like Dina Carter and so many females: Leanne Womack, Martina
Yeah.
McBride, Trisha Yearwood, Jessica Andrews, Jody Messina, Carolyn Dawn Johnson. Like the ladies I mentioned earlier. It's
Yeah.
just like there were so many females, and now if you think about the females that are on the charts, it's like you can count them on one hand. And there are a lot of more like duos and groups and that kind of thing, and male artists, a lot more male artists.
Yeah.
So yeah, the talent, the vocals too. I mean, there were a lot of belters, a lot of people who sang with big voices, and
And some of the vocal groups too. I look back, I remember the first time I saw Diamond Rio live, I think my jaw dropped on some
I
of the
know that guy
harmonies.
with the high voice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
love harmonies like that. I love it.
yeah, and even like McBride and the Ride and Diamond Rio and some of those Ricochet, they did what the Seven Bridges Road from the Eagles, and I just am like, whoa,
Oh, I
just
know that was amazing.
yeah, great stuff. So I appreciate that. So looking forward though, what can your fans or what do we have to look forward to from you in the rest of 2026?
Well, touring, of course. Looking forward to doing a show with Gabby Barrett and Sarah Evans and Ray Lynn, and that's going to be a really fun all-female lineup in Naples, Florida. So April 18th. So
Oh
anyone,
wow.
that's in the area, or if they want to fly in, come and see us. Country Jam Naples, it's called, and just touring as much as I can. I get to play shows occasionally with Lori Morgan, and I love that.
Oh wow.
And Ty Herndon, Billy Dean. I'm often playing with those guys, close friends of mine. And there's a video coming out for Old Heartache, which
Oh,
my husband edited, and my one of my best friends was the director, John Lee. And that then there's also a video for Flowers and Fireflies, which is the song that my sister wrote. That's a tribute to her. That's on the album. So yeah, doing more videos, playing shows as much as I can, and just getting constant content out there and
yeah.
having fun along the way.
No, that is awesome. And I'll tell you one of the things that I find interesting, and again, this is what, how critical I guess social media is these days for whether you're a singer, a musician, a comedian, and I've had all of the above, on the show over the years. And it's like everybody feels compelled to put out like the short clips because if you put anything out that's more than 30 seconds, it's considered like a feature length film or something. So
Oh, I
put out the
know,
short
I
stuff,
know.
and then hopefully that drives people to the longer stuff and so on and so forth. So knowing that you're going to have that video content come out, I think that's awesome and definitely something to look forward to.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely.
Now,
It's like you gotta do the short ones, but sometimes you can't shorten the song down.
yeah.
You're like, well, I want everyone to see the whole thing, so.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think with music, definitely, especially if it's a good song, it's with some of the like I know some of the comedians they've got to try to put out the quick zingers and then try to drive them to their longer
Oh yeah,
specials because
yeah,
it's a bigger investment of time for a 45-minute special than a 3 or 4 minute song. So it's a little
right.
bit different there. So I just thought of something. I lied when I said I only had one more question about looking forward. I just thought of maybe one more, and that is, what would you think the ultimate definition of success would look like for you in your career?
I think being able to tour and people still come to see me when I'm like 75. you
Wow.
know, that would be incredible. I hate to think of not being able to perform because there's no demand, I guess. So I think keeping up with your fans, I always go out to the merch desk and I sit there and I sign every last thing as people are coming through, anything that people want signed. And I love meeting people. I love getting tagged when they post something, and then I comment back to them, "Hey, thanks for coming to the show." Um, so I just think, I mean, that to me is success, is that someone's heard my new song, they like it, or songs from the album, and they come out to the shows. That's man, that's all I can ask for, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think and the bottom line is getting to do what you love to do for as long as you can do it, I think in and of itself is pretty much the definition of success.
Totally. Yeah.
Well,
I
Jamie,
just got a battery signal on my phone that said, I don't know what I have left.
oh
And I
wow.
didn't see what the percentage was, but if I lose you,
Okay. Well, I'll tell you
I'll
what.
plug in my phone.
Well, here's what I'm going to do then. Just in case, I'm going to wrap things up. And if we have time to chat after, we will. But Jamie, I just
Okay.
want to thank you so much for joining me. I
Thank you.
wish you all the best with the new album. Folks, Gypsum, you can get it wherever you get your music. It's awesome. And check out Jamie's website and socials for those upcoming tour dates she talked about. I'm going to be in Florida soon. So if I don't make it this time, I'll catch you the next time you're down there.
Definitely. I
Yes.
can't wait for that. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, my
Same here.
website is being reworked right now, so it's down, but you can go to
Okay.
Bands in Town, or I put it on my social media as well. So
Okay, yeah, and if you're not following Jamie on Facebook or Instagram and all the socials, what's your problem? Get on there and do it right now. So you have to do it right now. I've been doing it for a long time. You can do it too. So
thank you,
Jamie,
Bill.
thank you again. Appreciate you joining me. And folks, thank you for watching. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty and Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.